Pinkeye.
And welcome back to ManBearPod, the All South Park podcast. I'm Dan.
I'm Misty.
And this week's episode, South Park Classic. Although they didn't know it was going to be a classic. In fact, Matt Stone and Trey Parker were not happy when it came to wrapping this episode up. Pinkeye, the Halloween episode from the first season, one of my personal favorites. This air date came... So there was like a break in 1997, and this was the first episode back after like a little break of a couple weeks. I want to say I'm going to get the air date for sure, but Matt Stone and Trey Parker did not like it because they had no explanation. So in this episode, let's get with that first. In this episode, a zombie outbreak happens by means of Worcester sauce and Kenny. And it wasn't even supposed to be Worcester sauce. The original idea was like Diet Dr. Pepper, and they couldn't get the rights to it.
Diet Dr. Pepper didn't want to be seen in that light that it could be used as embalming fluid.
Worcester sauce, though, was perfectly fine with it. They were just like, yes, that is why we created this.
Is it pronounced
Worcestershire?
Okay, so it's named after the city in England, right?
I guess, I don't know.
I think it's Worcester. I think that's how you actually pronounce it, but it looks like Worcestershire.
Here's the thing.
Worcester sauce.
Misty, it's one of those words that I have never cared to pronounce it correctly. I just assume that every time I say what sounds like it, that is the pronunciation. And I've said different variations of Worcestershire. Worcestershire. And then there's Worcestershire. I have many different pronunciations to the word because I've never really cared to see how it's actually pronounced.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. I do it with a lot of words.
Okay.
Yeah. Like mobile. Sometimes I say mobile, sometimes I say mobile. Sometimes I say mobile. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter.
I was just curious,
I honestly, I couldn't tell you what the pronunciation was. I am the wrong person to ask.
Okay.
What were we talking about?
Worcester sauce was used as embalming fluid. But
when it was supposed to be Diet Dr. Pepper. The original air date to this, that's what I was getting at. The original air date to this was October 29th, 1997. It was a Halloween episode. I can't believe I couldn't just throw out a guess there. But yeah, October 29th, 1997. Our last episode, or the last episode we did was Death, and that was September 27th. Something like that, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not, whatever. I don't watch these back. We're not that vain where we watch ourselves back. But so it's been like a whole month, almost a month break. Kenny is killed and brought back to life as a zombie through a freak accident, terrorizing South Park residents who believe that the rise of the living dead is an epidemic of Pinkeye. Matt Stone and Trey Parker wrote this episode along with Philip Stark, and was one of the first new slate of episodes Parker and Stone made after Comedy Central agreed to pick up the show full time. Like I said, the duo was not happy with this episode, and one of the reasons, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons, the biggest reason was to every zombie show or movie has a way to get rid of the zombies or the way to stop it all, right?
Yeah.
So Matt Stone and Trey Parker, they couldn't figure out a way to turn everything back to normal, so they just kind of went with, you got to kill the main zombie.
Yeah.
And everybody goes back to normal. And I guess they felt they needed a better explanation. Like, that didn't make sense. Keep in mind, these are the same dudes who made the episode Volcano and did not have a problem with that not making sense. But this one, they had a problem with it making sense. And they were like, oh, man, we put out a dud. And they left the offices and they were just like, fine, we put out a bad episode. Come to find out, it's one of the most popular South Park episodes of all time. Pinkeye. Do you have any notes on this?
Do I have any notes?
Did you take any notes while watching? Anything you noticed? Anything you anything you saw. This episode. This episode does have Cartman dressing up as Adolf Hitler, which when you rewatch that in 2023, it's mind blowing.
The German words that Cartman actually says are just English words said backwards.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know any German.
Yeah, it wasn't actually German.
That's crazy. I mean, if you hadn't said anything, I would have just assumed all that was German. I would have just assumed that.
The word "commie bastard" is said like twice in the episode.
Okay.
In the beginning, the Russian astronauts in the Mir space shuttle, one of them calls the other one a commie bastard, and then I think there's like a news report or something somewhere later in the episode they say "commie bastard" again, which I'm curious to know how that originated, because I've definitely said "commie bastards" and I've heard that said, obviously in jest. In the past.
I know I've called people on the TV "commie bastards" like several times. It was viewed by 1.75 million households when it first aired. Now, for a network like Comedy Central, that's amazing. It was an unusually high amount for Comedy Central at the time. First appearance of Principal Victoria, who, like, looking back, Principal Victoria just is really trying. Like, I've never realized, like, what good of a character Principal Victoria is. But, like, if anyone, and I mean, I'm sure we'll come across it, but I don't even remember an episode where Principal Victoria was, like, really made fun of or put in, like, a low moment. And I'm sure we'll get to it once they replace her with PC Principal. I'm sure there was something that happened. But, like, all I see, like, now that we're rewatching this is Principal Victoria. She's really patient with Eric Cartman. She's really patient with the kids. She actually cares about the kids. She's naive and stupid just like everybody else in the town. But, like, she's actually, like, a really good positive influence in South Park. Kind of a voice of reason. Did
you know that she's actually, her character is based on a Comedy Central executive?
No shit.
Yeah.
That explains a lot why her character is, like, all the way she is and everything. Was it the executive, like, in charge of South Park, or was it just...
I don't know.
Okay.
Actually.
Well, that's interesting information. So, like I said earlier, Cartman, in this episode, it is 2023, and I'm not saying, like, South Park was wrong for this. It's just that when you watch this as time has passed, and you think of recent events or events from the past couple of years, when you see Eric Cartman dressed up as Adolf Hitler, it hits you that, like, they could never do this again. They could never do this again. And that so then he goes from dressed up Hitler. Principal Victoria sees him, says, "Fuck no, you can't wear that, as any adult should. We're going to dress you up as a ghost." And this is where the animation is the punchline. And I love it when they use their own animation as the big punchline. So she puts him in a ghost costume, but because of the animation and how she formed it, Cartman now looks like a walking Klans member. And it's just that we're never going to see an episode like they can't do. I mean, they probably could, but they haven't tried since, with the Klansman thing and just a little boy dressed up as a Klansman and a little boy dressed up as Hitler. I don't think we're going to see it from South Park again. Well, I mean, we might, but...
I thought that there was another episode where he dresses up as Hitler.
Oh, probably. I'm just saying none right now.
None right now.
Yeah.
And there is a later episode where they're KKK members.
Yes. I'm not saying it doesn't happen again. It happens again, but it's not going to happen again today. This is the first episode where Kenny dies and comes back to life multiple times. He dies, comes back to life as a zombie, dies, comes back to life again, and then dies. It's the first time it's ever happened. So we've got the Halloween theme of it all, and I really feel for Stan on this because he's supposed to show up to school for the costume contest with Wendy as Raggedy Ann and Andy. And one of the funniest moments in the episode for me is everyone's dressed as Chewbacca. It's not that Chewbacca was like popular back in the 90s. That was just like, for me at that age, when you went to school, Halloween week, costume party, we're all wearing the same goddamn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was a normal occurrence. And it's just funny to me that two adults and Matt Stone and Trey Parker, they probably went through the same thing, and Star Wars was big, and they were probably just putting that in there. But, like, yeah, everyone was a fucking Power Ranger when I was going to school. My favorite, favorite Halloween costume you've ever worn? Go.
Favorite I've ever worn?
Favorite, or one of your favorites. It doesn't have to be like the all-time.
I'm like, absolute favorite, I don't really know. But whenever, I would say The Flash.
Okay,
I was The Flash when I was these are, I do a lot.
That was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as a kid, werewolf.
Ooh.
I was a werewolf. My mom like teased my hair and like hair sprayed it, so it was like I looked all crazy and stuff. It was probably like 9 or 10.
So even though everybody was like, okay, so you remember Power Rangers?
Yeah.
Like I said, everybody was dressed up as a Power Ranger. But the thing about Power Rangers was Power Rangers got very, very popular very, very quick, right? So, like, by the time Halloween rolled around, companies, like, Power Rangers got so popular so quick, they couldn't really, like, copyright everything yet. They still had copyrights pending and patents pending and all this shit. So, like, these companies were just fucking busting out knockoff Power Ranger costumes, right? So, like, if you wanted, like, a legit Power Ranger costume, someone in your family needed to know how to knit, all right? My grandmother was the knitting expert.
Really?
Now, the thing about the Green Ranger, and by the way, I have totally, like, pivoted the podcast from South Park to Power Rangers, but the thing about Tommy, rest in peace, Jason David Frank, the thing about the Green Power Ranger was he had that gold vest, right? He was different than all the other Power Rangers because he had that gold vest that went down his chest and his shoulders, right? This is where you need someone who can knit, okay?
What?
Have you never seen... Google the Green Power Ranger, and you can see what I'm talking about.
Like, I think I know what you're talking about, but I was never into Power Rangers.
Yes, but, okay, so, in order to differentiate from the other kids wearing the green Power Ranger suit.
Yeah.
I needed.
Oh yeah.
I needed my grandmother to fucking get that vest right, and she did, because my grandmother loved a challenge.
Nailed it.
Now the helmet.
Okay.
So again, Power Rangers got really popular really fast. They weren't putting out helmets. They weren't putting out, like, if you got a helmet, then you knew a guy who worked at the props department or some shit.
Really?
The knockoff Power Ranger helmets were these big domed motherfuckers. Like, you know, in like Spaceballs, that fucking Rick Moranis is doing the Darth Vader like knockoff, and he's got that big old helmet. That's what the Power Ranger helmets were. And then the mouthpieces weren't even silver; they were human skin color. So it was like clear knockoff.
Was it one of those like plastic?
Oh yeah,
thin
plastic
that you would just put over your head, and it had the little elastic band.
Girl, these fucking helmets were so like mass. They could go over your shoulders. Like we all looked ridiculous walking around with helmets just bobbling everywhere, thin pieces of plastic. But that's the most badass costume I've had, and it's all because of that vest. Thank you, grandmother. Rest in peace. She was just like, all right, you want me to knit that? And I'll be damned, 3 days later, she had that ready to go. And I was like, I look so dope.
That's crazy.
And I got to school, and I had the most badass, I felt I had the most badass vest. But, you know, everybody was a Power Ranger. It was either the Pink Ranger, the Green Ranger. If someone was the Red Ranger, you were just like, okay, dude, whatever, bro. Cool, you want to play baseball when you get older or some shit.
Who's the Red Ranger?
Jason.
Oh, oh my goodness.
There's been a number of Red Rangers. Like the first guy, I think the first guy is not in prison. The first guy to play the Red Ranger, not in prison. The second guy killed his roommate with a sword.
What?
Yeah.
Was he practicing?
No, I think he just killed his roommate with a sword.
He just...
Yeah.
Okay.
Bro,
That's
if you live,
dark history behind the Power Rangers.
If you're living with a Power Ranger, don't eat his cheese. Fucking keep your hands on your own shit. That's it. If I had a Power Ranger live with me, I'd be like, what's curfew? It's your call. You make the rules. What? Just
don't eat his cheese.
Don't eat his cheese. Keep your fucking hands off his food. Don't open his mail. None of that shit. Just be smart. If you're living with a Power Ranger, be smart. They know like 9 forms of karate. Mr. Garrison dressed up as Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
There's more of that closeted sexuality of Garrison we bring up so much. But Wendy doesn't dress as Raggedy Ann. She dresses as Chewbacca. And really, like, this is the first fucked up thing you see Wendy do.
To stand, yeah.
To stand. And, like, this is, like, the first flaw that you see in Wendy's personality. And no lie, when I was little, I hated Wendy for this.
Really?
I did. I was like, I didn't, like, hate her with a passion or whatever. But, like, before, I was like, oh, wow, like, you know, Wendy is perfect for Stan and stuff like that. And then this episode, I was like, man, fuck Wendy.
Yeah. I mean, you plan a couple's costume and then it doesn't happen.
Would you ever do that to me?
No.
Mm-hmm. You would?
No, we've never done a couple's costume, have we?
We wanted to, but then Roseanne Barr fucked that up.
Oh, yeah.
We wanted to dress up as Dan and Roseanne Connor, and then Roseanne Barr went all racist on Twitter and got like a huge controversy. And we already kind of had the costumes all together, you know? Like, I had flannel to wear and jeans and like a little hat, and you were like looking at
the chicken shirt.
Yeah, you were looking at the chicken shirts and shit.
Oh my god.
And it's like, hey, Roseanne's made the news. Oh, Halloween's canceled.
I mean, when we first started dating, was it you? You were like, we are Dan and Roseanne Connor.
Yeah.
We were doing something. We were in some sort of stressful situation. We were just cracking jokes.
We were okay. I'll mention this little podcast. We were together our third week, and we were sitting there waiting for me to be taken into jail. And we were sitting and like I'd gotten done with court. And they're like, all right, you got to turn yourself in before the end of the day. And, you got all these court fees to pay. So we went to the section to pay the court fees, and we're sitting there waiting. And I was just reminded of of just an episode where Dan goes to jail.
Uh-huh.
And just the fact that we were there. It's our third week together.
Yeah.
And just the fact that we were there, and I'm about to go to jail for 3 days. For drinking and driving. It's nothing. I mean, it's bad, but it wasn't like anything, you know. I had a problem. It's been solved. But yeah, that's when that time was. I'm glad we brought that up on the podcast. I'm just kidding. At the costume contest, which is judged by Tina Yothers.
From Family Ties.
The sister on Family Ties, yeah.
I was thinking The Facts of Life.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Because in that era of television, there were a lot of young starlets, I want to say. A lot of young TV starlets. At A Facts of Life, Joe was the favorite.
Yeah.
But then you had Tina Yothers. You had Sally Struthers all in The Family. You had Three's Company. There were so many women on television and sitcoms that, it's kind of confusing. But Tina Yothers gets made fun of hard in this episode. What did they say about Tina Yothers in the episode?
They were saying that the chef says that the zombie epidemic starts with Tina Yothers. With
Tina Yothers coming to
of
town.
Tina Yothers fun fact about her though is that well, actually, you go with your fun fact, then I have another fun fact to tack onto it.
A little bit after this episode aired, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, I think they were in a band together. They're great musicians too, by the way. And they were doing a show or a charity event, one of the two, with Tina Yother's band.
Yeah.
Right? And Trey Parker was feeling very awkward because they just got done making fun of her. And from what we learned on 6 Days to Air, like Trey Parker is kind of like a non-confrontational dude, like an awkward, non-confrontational guy. So he was feeling all types of awkward. Tina Others came up and said, "Hey, I saw the episode. I loved it. I love the show. I'm a big fan." And they were just like, "Okay, yeah." But this has happened multiple times to Matt Stone and Trey Parker, where they make fun of celebrity. They run into that celebrity, and they're feeling all awkward and weird. And then it ends up being okay. Like Brooke Shields was another person.
So to add to that,
Tom Cruise was not.
To add to the Tina Yothers fun fact.
Yeah.
So I think there's a clip from this episode where it's like, "You suck, Tina Yothers," and before her band played like a show, they showed that clip.
So they would show that. That's funny. That's a good sport. I mean, Tina Yothers I always found was like cool because like she dyed her hair black during Family Ties. Like,
really,
they wanted her to keep her hair blonde. Right? And then in the last couple seasons, she just like showed up one day with black hair and everybody was just like, "What?" And she just rocked it.
Because she had that like really long blonde hair and it was kind of like foofy or feathered.
That Ric Flair blonde hair where it's like, is it blonde or is it white? It's trying to be something different. Kyle's dressed up as the solar system for his costume, hoping to win. Kenny takes second place for his zombie costume, despite it not being a costume. He's actually a zombie. And Wendy is able to win first place, as well as 2 tons of candy, despite wearing the same costume as several other students. And that is a true thing that would happen. You'd have all these kids wearing the same damn costume, and then who wins? The person dressed up in the same damn costume. Stan ends up winning the worst costume category, and everyone laughs at him, leaving him humiliated and upset with Wendy. So anyway, there's a weird little moment in this episode that's not really touched on, but during the whole like zombies are running around, Chef goes into the mayor's office to try to warn the Mayor McDaniels. And she is clearly engaged in, like, sexual activity with Officer Barb Brady, and there is a big briefcase of money on the desk. And there's, like, a little joke of, like, we weren't doing anything, and that's not a big briefcase of money on the desk. But it's never touched on again in South Park history what was happening right there. And I've always wanted to know, what were they doing? Who was paying who?
I think it was some sort of reference to the Yakuza.
What? Where did you get the Yakuza?
I got online.
Oh. Are you looking up the Yakuza online? Is that safe?
No, it was some sort of like reference to the Yakuza.
So the boys aren't noticing the outbreak, even when Kenny is able to bite every person they meet. When they're trick-or-treating. They arrive at Chef's home, to which Chef arms himself with pairs of chainsaw before noticing the boys and lets them in. Chef then tells them what is really going on before taking them to the morgue to stop the outbreak. You know what I love about Chef, and this is what I've noticed? Chef is the only one in South Park that listens, believes, and, like, fucking acknowledges the intelligence of the boys. He always believes them. He's like down to help at any time for anything. Yeah. You know? And I've just always noticed that about Chef. And he has a very, very funny moment. That's my favorite moment later on. Okay, so yeah, we get to the peak of the episode, And, the boys have found out what it is. Everybody's aware there's a zombie outbreak. They think it's Pinkeye, whatever. And then the thing about, I guess, any zombie genre is, like, who becomes a zombie. And we're going to talk about favorite moment before going into, like, other stuff. But favorite moment of all time, it's not even up for debate, is the Chef Thriller homage that happens. Because it happens like that. Like, Stan or Kyle's like, hey, Chef, cut. Chef is fucking the Thriller zombie, and they do just enough parody to get away with him singing Thriller.
Yes.
Such a great moment. One of the classic things in South Park. And then, in the future, what happens to Chef? It makes this episode kind of painful to watch. Anyway, and that will be discussed later on. Kyle is able to then call the Worcester sauce. Did I pronounce that correctly? I don't care.
Worcester.
Hotline number on the phone while Stan and Cartman are able to defend themselves with chainsaws. Turns into this big bloodbath, which they use to kill the zombies. But Stan hesitates to kill a zombified Wendy. That's a good moment in the episode. He's mad at Wendy, and here's zombie Wendy, and it's just like, holy shit, is he gonna... after Kyle learns he has to kill the original zombie, after being told complicatedly by the hotline lady, he discovers that Kenny is the original zombie after remembering that he was the one who was taken to the morgue. And he then kills Kenny by slicing him in half with a chainsaw. Very graphic, and also another Kenny thing on every TV shirt, on every T-shirt, on every lunchbox, all the merch. That fucked up cut in half Kenny from this episode. The spell is broken. All the zombies turn back to normal, even the one they've killed. We've noticed that. We looked in the background, and like all the severed heads went back to human heads, and you're just like, oh shit. They just killed a shitload of people. Stan makes up with Wendy, and they are about to kiss each other, but ends up puking on her, leaving her feel disgusted. The episode ends with the boys mourning at Kenny's grave, and they immediately decide to go home and eat their Halloween candy, as well as look at photos of Cartman's mom, who is revealed in this episode to be on the cover of Crack Whore magazine.
That was a running joke throughout the episode, and then you finally see the magazine.
It's okay, so... This is the first episode where we are made aware of Cartman's mom's sexual promiscuity. But there is a story. Leanne, that's her name, right? Leanne Cartman. So Cartman's mom is based on, get this, an ex-girlfriend of Trey Parker in college who cheated on him. Hence why Leanne Cartman is sexually promiscuous. It's kind of like a dig. It's kind of like, they got along enough to do Cannibal together. Like him and his ex-girlfriend, they made Cannibal. She was part of the crew, whatever. But yeah, that's the origin of Leanne Cartman. It's just Trey Parker taking a shot at an ex-girlfriend. But I guess they have a great relationship, though, because she was able to do that and everything. Don't name names, but did you know anybody whose mom was sexually promiscuous? Do you have a childhood friend whose mom was like that? Don't name your friend.
I don't even know.
Don't name the friend, but name the mom.
I don't even know. Like, maybe when I was in junior high, but I wasn't really like aware, like
I won't name names. Like I didn't know it at the time. If that makes sense. Like I didn't know it at the time. It's like, oh, fucking what blah blah blah's mom is like, but like thinking back, it was just like, oh my god, blah blah blah's mom like fucked everyone. I'm surprised I got out of there without It sucks. I don't want to mention names or anything.
No, both my best friends in high school, they were married, so their moms were married, so
there was two school functions in 1 week, right? and my buddy's mom showed up with a dude, and we were like in like 4th or 5th grade.
Mhm.
And it was just like, oh, okay. And my friend was like really bragging about this guy. Like, he was so cool. It hadn't hit my head yet that like maybe this was like a boyfriend or something. I just assumed it was the dude, my friend's dad, but whatever. And then the next school function that happened in the same week, so like 3 or 4 days later, she showed up with another dude. So then I asked my buddy, I'm like, well, who's that dude? And he's like, oh, that's Ron.
Okay.
I was like, what's so bad about Ron? He's like, well, so he liked, I can't remember the first guy's name, but he liked the first guy because the first guy would like give him like toys and video games and stuff. Ron didn't do that. He barely talks to me. And now thinking back, I'm just like, oh yeah, that guy wanted nothing to do with you. He just wanted to bang your mom.
Oh, the plot thickens.
It really doesn't. It's really not a thick plot at all. It's just a dude that didn't want to be a dad. It's just a dude that didn't want to be a dad and was boning my friend's mom. And I was like in 4th grade and didn't realize it. But now I'm an adult and I look back at that, I'm like, what? That's fucked up. And you put your child in that scenario, like where they have to experience that. Hey, I'm not saying.
I mean, sometimes it takes you a while
I'm not
to
judging.
realize that a person is shitty.
I'm not judging,
you know?
But like if we had a kid, right, and something happened to you, I probably wouldn't like date until that kid turned 18 and was out of the house. I'd be too awkward to be like, so this is. I don't even remember her name. This is just a piece that I need to insert my sadness stick in because I'm missing your mom.
Wow,
Don't even remember what her name is. I just met her at the Outback Steakhouse. Outback Steakhouse. Where all the girls go to. I don't know. So anyway, Kenny comes back to life and emerges from the grave with his body sewn together, but an angel statue falls onto him, followed by an airline jet crashing into him, killing him once more. Diet Dr. Pepper. This is the first episode with a cold open. So a little intro before the intro.
Yeah, the Halloween.
The scientist. Yeah. It showed the scientist in the space station, and then we got to, the intro of the episode by Primus and all that. I'm trying to look for
the only Halloween intros that I know of any shows would be South Park and The Simpsons.
Oh, Roseanne.
Roseanne did? Okay,
Roseanne
that makes sense.
Roseanne had some epic. Well, no, Brooklyn Nine-Nine just had the heist episodes, but they had Halloween episodes.
They had Halloween intros?
No, episodes.
Like, I'm talking about
intros.
Intros. The Simpsons had a Halloween intros, and South Park.
Yeah, Roseanne didn't have an intro, I don't think. Maybe they did one year.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. You're right on that. And, like, honestly, like, I feel like, okay, well, who did it better? Now, The Simpsons have a long line of Halloween episodes.
Yeah.
South Park didn't have that many Halloween episodes.
Yeah.
I would say this is the only episode that actually feels like full Halloween.
Yeah.
And the other episodes, Halloween's just happening in the background. So, for this episode, how would you rank it against any Simpsons Halloween episode?
I can't compare, Simpsons.
Really? Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. Well, I mean,
I'm being honest.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I grew up,
It's fine. No, some of the Simpsons Halloween episodes were like really banger, like when fucking Homer goes into the three-dimensional world and shit.
I knew you were going to mention that.
It's one of my favorites.
I mean, I did like this episode. I mean,
But none of those Simpsons episodes has Chef, played by Isaac Hayes, doing the Thriller dance.
That
doing
is
Thriller.
That is a great moment.
There's just some epic, and the fact that they didn't even think, the fact that they thought they fucked this episode up, and that it was a dud, just hilarious, and goes to show you what kind of people Matt Stone and Trey Parker are. More important question. The last question. Does it hold up?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I would also say it holds up. What was your? I already said my funniest moment. What was your favorite moment?
I do really like Chef doing the Thriller, but I like how the Worcester sauce on the bottle in the beginning says not to be used as an embalming fluid.
But you're doing the same thing I'm doing, where you're just pronouncing it whatever comes out of your mouth.
And then, and I love how they call the hotline. The boys call the hotline, and it's something about in the event of a zombie apocalypse. Press 3. and the woman on the phone tells them how to. Oh, you have to kill the original zombie.
But another thing I like about that episode is like when a show like that, like South Park, I mean, this is the first episode they have of the full-time contract from Comedy Central, and where other like show creators I think would crack under the pressure of that, they exceeded. And they exceeded to a point where they didn't even know they exceeded. They thought they had fucked up, and then they come back with like an instant classic. And there's the rest of this lineup in the first season. There's a lot of instant classics. And then it ends with one of the most controversial South Park episodes. No, like in South Park lore. Like at this point, they're getting phone calls from parents. The very last episode, they get phone calls from everyone, like actual South Park fans. And I remember it like it was yesterday. But we're not there yet, because the next one is another classic. The next one we're going to be doing is Starvin' Marvin. Starvin' Marvin's on docket. Very popular character. Don't know why they haven't done more with him.
Yeah.
I feel like he's only in 3 or 4 episodes. I feel like Tally has more episodes than Starvin' Marvin. But in this Starvin' Marvin episode, where Sally Struthers is going to get it. And that's another blonde fucking starlet from the sitcom era. And I don't know why they choose Sally Struthers. I have no idea. I would have made fun of Rob Reiner. They
do
make fun of Rob Reiner. They do, don't they?
They must have grown up watching All in the Family, because basically, like, whenever they created Cartman, they were like, we want to create like
an Archie Bunker,
but as a kid, and
now
Cartman.
But like in defense of Sally Struthers, I don't know what Sally Struthers was doing at the time warrant being made fun of. Go ahead.
She was doing those commercials like
for the sick kids
for $1 a day
for the starving kids.
You can support a child.
What's wrong with that?
Africa or whatever, but
yeah, what's wrong with that?
But they take that and they make fun of it.
Oh, okay. Was the company she was working for? We'll look it up.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll look it up. We'll check and see if the company she was working for was fraudulent, because that would be means to make fun of someone. But if they're just making fun, now Rob Reiner, I can totally understand them making fun of Rob Reiner. You know, you and I like to consider us like liberal to an extent. Liberal, maybe libertarians, maybe just complete independence. But the reason I don't go like full on liberal is because of liberals like Rob Reiner. Just those annoying, like, do what I say, believe what I believe, do what I do.
That's gonna be a fun episode to talk about. Well, both of them.
That's in the future.
Yeah, that's
we gotta
way down
get
the
through
line.
Starvin' Marvin first. Hey, we appreciate you watching. Comment along. What was your favorite moment in this episode? Or in any episode of South Park up to this point? Anything before? Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching the clips that we've been putting on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you for following us on Twitter. All of you out there doing like the quadfecta. Is that even a word?
I don't know.
Whatever. And thank you all listening on Spotify right now. This is ManBearPod. The next episode, Starvin' Marvin, next Wednesday, with some shorts and clips all over the social media and YouTube. For ManBearPod, I'm Dan.
I'm Misty.
And we'll see you next week. Deuces!